We are legends.
Hello and welcome to our Christmas special. I am Slowbeast, and with me as always is my friend Hatemael. We're going to change up our format a little bit for the holidays, and this episode is going to be the rest of Hate's PvP tier list. Hate is going to make the list available after the episode drops.
I had to
And
laugh though, real quick. On our script that Slowbeast reads, it says, "With me as always, my friend?" Question mark. So you're you're curious about that one, huh?
absolutely. Sometimes I wonder. All right, and
Merry
Merry
Christmas!
Christmas!
Okay, if you're watching the YouTube version, I have a few treats for you. It's against some of the most popular YouTubers, such as Phonetic Jalapeno and Superman 2598. We also have some of the moderators. I know Alexi's on there. We eventually want to have some guests on our podcast, probably late January once Slow gets a mixing board. So we definitely plan to have some of them on there. And if you're watching the YouTube version, we're going to have a bunch of unusual comps, so you can see some of the characters that we're talking about.
Let's get to the next tier. This one's called Worthy of a Fairly Early Upgrade. These are solid characters. Some may fit into your build better than others listed above, so might be worthy of an earlier upgrade. Most are outshined by some other character unless in a specific build.
Yeah, these characters, they're pretty good, but they need specific comps. They're not great, but you do want to upgrade them once you get through some of your more core characters, and if you particularly like or they fit into a comp that you're running. The bottom of this list is, and we just talked about her, so I'm gonna make this quick, is Killer Frost. She's a lot stronger now in the slower meta, but she needs to either be on a stun team or a speed down team. But if you listen to the last podcast, we went into a lot of detail about her. Same with the next character on the list, who's Mirror Master. He's a good character, but he pretty much needs to be on a specialized team. He can work on some other teams, but you're better off bringing a different energy character most of the time. Next on that list is Batman Cape Crusader. He's one of those characters that hits really hard. He's got evasions. I haven't geared him out yet, but he is a great early game character. You get a lot of his shards early on, and I know he can hold his own. And after playing Batgirl a lot, I think I'm probably more interested in him than I was, but I know you have some thoughts
Yeah,
on him,
this is
Slow.
because his shards are so easy to get. He is a character that I have geared out and I've been using quite regularly. He hits like a truck. He's got invisibility, so he can and evasion, so he's pretty resilient. He's not taken out very easily, and I've used him quite a bit.
Yeah, he's definitely a solid character. So if you're early gaming and you need a strong physical character, he's definitely worthy of an upgrade. Next on the list is Harley Quinn Quite Vexing. She's not a bad character. She's just outclassed by some of the other physical characters, but she does have her main attack. If it crits, and with Steppenwolf, she definitely has a little bit more of a punch. She can one-shot pretty much any blue. She can sometimes one-shot even other physical characters. So pretty good character all the way around. Next on the list, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on him because we've talked about him at nauseum, is Lobo. I moved him down to the bottom of the list because you don't need to gear him. Actually, he's much better off if you don't gear him. But paired with Deathstroke, he's brokenly good, as everybody knows. And the Daddy Lobo's pretty good on his own, too. He's pretty good on bleed teams. The only reason I moved him lower is because he's starting to have some counters. People are figuring out how to get around him, and he's much better ungeared than geared. So you don't want to. This list is more about who you want to gear than who you don't. Also, next on the list is Zatanna. She's got a great AoE heal. She's got a pretty strong ability, her third ability, attack. It removes buffs, and when you face her in red alerts, she likes to one-shot your weaker
Yep.
energy characters, so keeps her on the list. She's one I haven't geared out yet either, and I think I might move her around a little bit in my list, depending. But pretty solid, good early game character, great for PvE content. Next is Scarecrow. We've had him in our in-depth analysis not too long ago. Cool character. I like him better as a leader than outside of him. But he's one that you really need to run one evader, and of course MJ Harley Quinn, which is one of the best characters in the game. He pairs perfectly with her. But he's more of a fun niche than a mega powerhouse. But he does certain teams that you struggle against. Sometimes he can, if there's no Steppenwolf or anti-evasion character, he's great. Moving on to Deadshot Suicide Squad. He's one I've always wanted to gear out. I don't have him very high. I think I only have him at Legendary 1 because he's pretty rare. But with the addition of Red Hood, he's become a lot more viable, so it's a little bit more safe to run AoE attacks. And his AoE does just monster damage. It has a super high crit rate, and he's a pretty solid character all the way around. Next we have Aquaman. He used to be the top character. Actually, I would rank. I at one point ranked him number one. But he's lost a little bit of his glory now that the crit meta is gone and Gear 11 has come into play. He's still a great character. He's got bleeds. He's got a stun. Um, I still occasionally put him on a team, and when he was an alliance mission not too long ago, I was running a team with him, and it actually did extremely well, even against Deathstroke before Red Hood came along. You have him, don't you?
Yeah, I have Aquaman. Of course, the meta used to be. Of course, I agree with you. He was the number one lead that you wanted for the against the Emerald Archer, and yeah, he definitely serves his purpose in that aspect. I think he worked quite well for that meta.
Yeah, and even with Supergirl, he was really
Yep.
good against. But he still has a place in bleed teams. He still does well. I still use him in Red Alert quite a bit, actually. Moving on to Castaway Green Arrow. He's still a pretty strong character, but with all the new superpowered physical characters, he's lost his glory. He used to be the pinnacle of the meta, and he'll always be remembered for his endless shooting that drove me mad at times. But once again, he's still a pretty good character. I think with some of the turn meter down teams, he can find a place.
Yeah, I have Castaway geared out. I think this was one of my first legendaries I ever got, and I agree with you. He could have been the most frustrating character ever to play against, but was great when he was on your team. He just never seemed to proc that extra shot as much on your team.
Yeah, the AI always had the biggest advantage when it came to that. Um, Moving up is his twin, Emerald Archer Green Arrow. He's still one of the stronger reds in my opinion. His double shot hits extremely hard, especially when you're fighting him in
Hmm.
red alerts. He frustrates the heck out of you. His two-turn death immunity is really good, and his crit damage is still nice. I actually have a team you'll see in this video. I'm fighting one of our alliance mates who had a team I just could not find a team to beat. I have multiple recorded losses, and I finally busted out Emerald Archer Green Arrow and was able to beat him. It was a Red Hood team, Red Hood, MJ, Grundy, and Steppenwolf, and that was that team. That team was brutal to fight against, but running the strength down Emerald Archer team actually worked pretty well. Probably should have them maybe a little higher on this list, but there's quite a few good characters now that we're in this tier.
Yeah, I do the same thing as you. I've got the Emerald Archer. I use him in red alerts. I have not pulled him out for a PvP in a while. Maybe I'll have to try that out. Uh,
He does well against the Red Hood teams, I've noticed, so that's definitely a thought process for those of you that have been running Deathstroke. And you probably have Emerald Archer geared out. Most people seem to if you've been playing for any
mhm.
length of time. Moving on to John Stewart Green Lantern. He's a character that I don't know why I still haven't geared out. He was one of my favorite characters early on, just in the game, wanting to play him. He had a neat kit. I like the character. I love the Green Lantern realm. His basic is so strong. He's got a really strong AoE. He's got a long death immunity. But now that for a while there, he kind of got shelved because AoEs were too dangerous. But now that we're starting to be able to use them again, I think he's a solid character to gear out, and I definitely plan to gear him out myself very soon.
Yeah, I just want to say I just got him to Legendary 1, and I'm really excited to gear him out because I remember playing in the old meta, and he was very frustrating how strong he was with that AoE.
Yeah, he's not bad at Legendary 1. I think he's best at Legendary 3, and surprisingly, I'm not too far from Legendary 4 now, so I really need to invest the resources into gearing him
Hmm.
very soon. Um, Moving on to Wonder Woman, Champion of the Amazons. She's a character that hits extremely hard. She's a glass cannon. Um, if there isn't a Harley Quinn that you're facing against or a red that's going to take her out really quick, if she has a chance to stay alive, energy characters justifiably should be terrified of her because she just, once she gets going, she wrecks day and she has this fantastic counterattacks. Next on the list and last in this tier is Batgirl, and she might actually be worthy of moving up higher. I've only been playing her for like 2 days. I have a fair amount of video actually of her already, but she's way stronger than I thought she would be. She has really strong attacks. She hits almost as hard as Batman does, the Cape Crusader. But then she also builds up those evasions. She's just a solid, fun character. She's got her counter attacks. She's got the call assist. She's a really good character. So I'm gonna do a in-depth analysis on our next episode.
All right, and that takes us to our next tier. This one's called Upgrade Me Next. After the must-haves, which is the top tier, you would recommend upgrading these characters next as they are extremely powerful and can help diversify your roster with very strong characters.
Okay, this list is a little bit bigger, but at the very bottom of this list, these are characters that, like you'd said during the intro, these characters are ones you really want. The very bottom of this list, I would say, is Dr. Poison. She's really tanky at gear 11. And it's funny because at gear 10, she's one of those characters that just is not that great. So if you're not able to take her to gear 11, you probably would want to skip out on her. But she does heal immunity and bleeds. You may want to take her just to deal with Baby Lobo if you don't have any other options. But her bleeds are super strong, and paired with other bleeding characters, she can do a ton of damage. She also heals, so that also can be extremely useful in certain fights. Moving up next on the list is Hired Gun Deadshot. I almost kind of think I put him a little too low, especially because I've been using him a little more frequently lately. Extremely strong character that fits well into a lot of different teams. Being able to one-shot Wonder Woman, DOJ, or some of the other mystics that can be a pain is fantastic with this character. The only downside to him is that he doesn't bring a whole lot to countering against Deathstroke. Aquaman, the old one, shuts him down a little bit, but really good character, fantastic for red alerts. Being able to one-shot characters each match can save your butt. Moving next is White Lantern Sinestro. I finally took him up and geared him out a couple months ago. Super excited for it. Unfortunately, he's not quite as good as he used to be. He used to be one of the best characters in the game. But being able to revive your team and help keep others alive for a long time is great. And his basic attack does a ton of damage.
Yeah, this is like the white whale. It's a character that I've been chasing forever, and it's just impossible to find shards for him. I'd love to get white.
Well, you missed when you weren't
Hmm.
playing. They had a really good sale that was very shard friendly that made a bunch of us break our budgets for.
Of course, go figure.
Next on the list is Huntress. She's one of those characters. She's outshined by some other Reds now, but she's still a super solid character. Does a ton of damage, and if she has a chance to get going, buffs up like crazy and can become a monster. I know she's one of your favorites.
Yeah, I can't find a situation where I don't think that she is a good thought for my team. I love throwing anytime I'm going to use a red. She's my go-to. Just she hits hard. She's got the evasion, so it's almost impossible to kill her if they leave her too long. The only problem would be if she gets taken out. Or she can get taken out early in the match. So, but yeah, I use her red alerts. I use her PvP. I use her anywhere. She's my go-to red.
Yeah, I do think with her basic being able to apply heal immunity, that's quite useful.
Hmm.
Next on the list is Vixen. I know some of you are going to think I'm crazy for putting her this high, but she is extremely good character. If you've seen some of my videos with her, you'll see she's very tanky for a Mystic. She can survive against much of the stronger Reds. She can take multiple hits, especially if she's leader, but even outside of leader, she can take quite a few hits. Basically, you just turn into a Rhino and slam into the characters over and over. You'll gain the stamina stacks up. You'll stun characters. You'll apply bleeds. And then if you're facing Harley Quinn and you have to take a turn against her, you can use her Hawk and hit her with evasion downs and not miss. The only knock on her, she's kind of slow, and she's not even that slow, but sometimes you have to use your basic, so you'll miss a turn. I didn't take her basic, which is the speed ups, and I know a lot of people recommend it. Um, so I probably should have took that earlier, and I doubt I'm going to take her to Legendary 5 anytime soon. So I took everything else. But she can also remove buffs. Just a good all-around character, in my opinion. And Slow didn't even know she existed
Nope, just
right
found
before
out.
call. So she was a character that came out during his absence.
Yeah, and I've
And
clearly never played against her. So,
yeah, her AI is terrible on defense. That's one of her other big knocks. Next on the list is Dr. Fate. He's really solid character in my opinion. I like him more and more as I use him. He can one-shot a lot of the energy characters and red alerts. I regularly one-shot energy opponents. His shield buff is huge. He has a 3-turn heal immunity, so he's great against healing characters and revivers. just a solid character. The only knock on him is he's kind of squishy, and he's obviously pretty slow. And Slowby, you use him too,
Oh
right?
yeah, I like Dr. Fate. I think I geared him out after we did the episode where you talked about him, and I went ahead and geared him out to gear 10, and he hits very hard, and I agree completely. The only knock is that he's squishy and a little slow, but once he gets his shield up, and he works well with like Green Lantern teams, where you get the shield from Hal Jordan, so that he works out well.
And next, right above him, is a character that's kind of similar, but she's a little bit different. Is Mira. She has that damage immunity, which is fantastic. She can stack tons of meds, and she also hits very hard. I do like running in red alerts. I'll run a team that has both Mira and Dr. Fate. You can wipe out energy characters with those two characters, and then you can stack the shields plus the mends. So it gives you they're a good pairing if you can afford to have two mystics on a team in certain cases. But all around Mira is really good. Moving up, Solomon Grundy. I actually almost think he deserves to be higher lately. I've been facing since they fixed his fourth legendary, where he gains his strengths ups every time he hits, and he takes a lot of hits to go down, and his strengths up just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's one of the more powerful blues. He can hit so hard, and then of course he can revive. His only knock is he's slow, but with pairing him with Ares and getting the enrages, he speeds up more and more. Just super solid, super strong character. Next on the list is Terra. Before Steppenwolf and Batman TDK, I would have said to get her earlier, and I might even put her in the must-have list. But now you have some anti-evasion counters. Terra's still a really strong character. Has a really good AOE that can double hit and do a ton of damage to physical characters, and she's great against anti-evasion characters. Her basic hits hard and also has. I don't know if it does. I don't think it does all special damage. I think it does a combination of special and physical damage, which is semi-unique. I could be completely wrong on that one though. And moving up, we have Cyborg. After gearing this character, I never was high on him, but I also think Gear 11 has to do with it, but I realized I was missing out. I think with the slower meta and then also with Steppenwolf, he's a great character. Being able to use his super cannon on turn 1 with Steppenwolf is awesome. You can kill Harley Quinn with her evasions up on turn 1, which you can't do that with any other character. So they combo so well together, and Cyborg's a lot better than I would have ever gave him credit. I know you've been real high on him for a long time, Slow.
Yeah, he was another one of those characters. He was my first or second legendary character that I got in the game, and I geared him out, in the beginning, not knowing other than I had a legendary character, so that's why he ended up geared out for me. But yeah, I've always used him, and I knew he hit really hard, and obviously the only drawback was the miss percentage on his nuke. But
Yeah, and because he was slower, everything was about speed back in the day.
yep.
But now that everything isn't about speed and you can bury him behind taunters, when he has time to ramp up, he just does so much
Oh yeah,
damage.
absolutely.
Next up, just above him is Batman TDK, who we just mentioned. He's actually a true tank. He does fantastic against taunters, both Harley Quinn and DOJ. And sounds like we're going to have another taunter in Shazam coming up. And even though it's mismatch and affinity, being able to stun them when they taunt is fantastic. It takes forever to kill. If it comes down to you and even two physical characters that isn't a super buff Deathstroke, Batman TDK isn't dying. So I was actually surprised at how much I like him. I know you started using him too, right, Slow?
Yep. After you recommended him, I went ahead and geared him out, and I've been using him, and he absolutely has won matches for me. Just how like exactly what you said. He's almost impossible to kill.
The only bad side to him is that if it comes down to Batman TDK and another energy character, usually you have to abandon the match because it never ends. But moving on up, we have Superman. Really solid character. Ever since Gear 11, he's become a lot more of a useful character. Super effective, of course, against the Baby Lobo teams because his eye beams will kill Baby Lobo and place heal immunity. The only thing that holds this character back is you have to be a legendary. I would say legendary 2, maybe legendary 1 with his laser eyes, but he's best around legendary 4 or 5 to really shine because you want to have his heal, you want to have his eye beams. His stun's surprisingly good, which is the only one I haven't taken yet. His turn meter up, I would probably avoid if you plan to use him as a taunter. Solid character all the way around. Needs to be Gear 11 to be where he really want him. Earlier on, I guess he could be useful for getting rid of Baby Lobo, but good character all the way around.
Yeah,
I know Slow, you like him.
yeah. I just got him to legendary too, and I was talking to you about that the other day. But I realized that I only had him at gear 9. I don't know why I did that, so I'm finishing out trying to get him to gear 10, and I'll let you know how he works at gear 10 against some comparable teams.
And I know with the leader, with the changes, as leader, he might be better so that you can get the damage immunity. Good character all the way around. Next on the list, we have Livewire. She's very strong, has evasions, can self-heal. She's anti-AoE. For a little while there, she was kind of a scary character to use because she will one-shot Baby Lobo without thinking, and she does too many counterattacks to not.
I hate fighting against Livewire. She is the bane of my existence currently. Anytime I see her on a team, I actually avoid fighting her.
Moving up, we have Ares. He's one of the strongest mystics in my opinion. He can take such a big beating. He applies buff immunity. He can enrage others, which paired with Grundy, you can enrage him and speed him up. And then also gives him death immunity. He's actually one of my favorite characters to use. I sometimes I'll forget to use him for a while because I'm playing with other characters, and then every time I go back to him, I'm like, why don't I use this character more?
Yeah, Ares is a lead is amazingly strong, especially considering he's a mystic. He can take a hit, and with some of these enrage teams that you were putting together, I'm sure he worked out really well for you.
Yeah, and also facing against him, if you're facing against Harley Quinn, you don't mind if he gets enraged. So
Yep.
next on our list, one of my all-time favorite characters is Catwoman. She's an awesome utility character. She does great damage, can sometimes one-shot or take down Mystic characters. She removes all their buffs and stuns them, guaranteed. Doesn't matter who you're facing, and especially right now. One of the tricks before Red Hood came along is you would kill everybody, let Deathstroke get crazy buffed up, and then just remove all his buffs and stun him. One of my early favorites. I know Slow, you've been using her.
Yeah, she's another one I've had geared out, and I've done that trick with defeating Deathstroke. It's great to not worry about the fact that you killed everybody and just take all his buffs away.
Yeah, if you have her shards, and you really only need her legendary 2, but if you're a newer player and you don't have a lot of other characters and you have her legendary 2, you can't go wrong with getting her. She fits into just about every meta. Next up, hard character to obtain, but is a fantastic character, is Katana. You do not have Red Hood. I would highly recommend her because you can just keep stealing Deathstroke's buffs and then kill them with them. And this works against most characters. She can one-shot even some of the tankiest energy characters. I've had her one-shot Hal Jordan Green Lantern with his shield up at gear 11. She can't miss on her basic. She's quite good at Legendary 1 and preferably Legendary 2. But if you take her leadership and run her as leader, you probably won't be disappointed.
Katana is a great character. I do use her quite a bit, and she can take out a green very easily, and then that death immunity just makes her tough to kill. So I actually like using her a lot too.
Next up is Bane. Super good character now. He needs a little bit of support to really work, but you don't have to have it. With the Enchantress lead or any other healer, if you just get that overheal up. But he'll do that naturally if you can just keep him protected just long enough. And then he becomes a powerhouse. Every turn, he's just slamming in the characters. I know, Slow, you've been using him a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, you talked him up right after the rework, and I happen to have like a bazillion Bane shards from somewhere, so I went ahead and geared him out, and I think I've got him at Legendary 3, and I do have him at Legendary 3. And just like you said, like he buffs himself, so you don't even have to worry about buffing him, and then he just starts slamming into everybody, and he gets hard. He's fast becoming one of my favorite reds.
And last on this list, I went back and forth with putting her in the top tier, but I wanted to keep that tier, limit that tier to 12. Is Cheetah. She's such a good character. I geared her out way later than I should have. Extremely strong. She allows a lot of comps to work that normally wouldn't because of her turn meter up. She's awesome bleeds. Those strengths ups make your characters hit like freaking freight trains. And I went back and forth on whether she should be in the must-have tier, but unfortunately, there's too many slightly better characters. And I wouldn't even say they're necessarily better, but they're characters that you must have versus Cheetah's one of those ones. I lived without her for a long time, but I definitely like having her.
Yeah, I can't remember if I geared her up before you or not, but I do know that I geared her up fairly early, and she absolutely is a great character to have those bleeds, and then
Yeah, you've had her for a long time.
yeah, I can't remember if I had her before you or not, but yeah, I've
Oh, you
used
did,
her for a
because I
while.
only get her like 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, then I definitely did. So yeah, no, I like using her.
Yeah, she's one of those characters kind of like Hal Jordan Green Lantern, who, spoiler alert, he'll be in the next tier. He she's aged well. She's worked in almost every meta.
Yeah. All right, which brings us to the top tier, the must-haves. This tier is the top 12 characters that should be on your roster and geared out. They are essential in comps, countering comps, or just overall great characters in PvP. With these 12s, you should be able to handle anything on your PvP list.
The very bottom of this list, one of those characters that I would say is a must-have because he's so good in PvE, so good in PvP, and he's always been good since he's come out, is Arcus. Just extremely powerful. He can wipe out just about any red in his main attack. He takes forever to kill. He does tons of damage, even against Mystics. Just such a good character. And I know, Slow, you like Arcus as well.
This guy just hits like a truck, and like you said, it doesn't matter what affinity they are. He will do damage, and he gets that death immunity on there, and he's saved some matches for me with that death immunity.
Yeah, and I know in Red Alerts and some of the PvE content, I mean, you can solo certain things with the Arcus, so
Yep.
just such a good character. Next on the list is Wonder Woman, Princess of Themursa. Um, she
Yay.
is. I really like this character. She has lots of attacks. She's very tanky. She can remove buffs. She's one of the best mystics as a leader in the game. Obviously, there's other characters sometimes you want as leader instead, but I'm super high on her. I know some other people would probably put Arcus above her, but
Yeah, I think it's a moot point. They're both really good characters, and I don't know, one above the other. Does it really matter? You need to have both of them. So
next up is Siren. She's hands down the best bleed character in the game. She wipes out her energy characters. She's always a character you're scared to face. You don't want to let her have a turn.
yep.
She works well in so many different comps. Obviously, bleed comps are the best, but she doesn't need other bleeders to work. Just really good character all the way around.
Yeah, anytime I'm facing a really strong team of greens, I always pick Siren to fill in just because I can put bleeds on the whole team. She's effective against the green, and she's fairly quick, so she gets to go pretty quickly out of the gate and get those bleeds up.
And also, if you're free to play or don't want you're not taking characters beyond Gear 9, Gear 10, she's one of those characters. The bleeding characters are some of the best to run, and I know Siren's a favorite for taking on teams that are stronger than yours.
Yep.
Next up is Cyborg Superman. This guy is a super tank. He does great damage. He can't miss. He can remove awareness, so he's been a great character for this meta. At Gear 11, he's just been, I mean, he's insane. He takes so long to kill. And even at Gear 10, he's a very good character. Um, he can one-shot most physicals with his boulders. You really can't ask much more from this character. He doesn't do bad as a leader, though I think there's other better leaders, but early on, he's just a great character. You really only need Legendary 2 to, have him at his pinnacle strength. Moving on, we have one of the most dangerous characters in the game, which is Reverse Flash. He should be on your list of characters to own and gear. Even in the current meta, he kind of took a little bit of a backseat because his whenever his AoE would proc and he would accidentally kill off Baby Lobo, that became a little dangerous. But now with Red Hood on the scene and hopefully Black Adam also helps with this. Uh, I mean, he's just such a strong character. If there isn't a Baby Lobo, there's not a lot of reasons not to put him on your team.
Yeah, actually, just until recently, I only had him at. I didn't have him at legendary. I just had him at four-star regular and or 5-star regular rather. And I had him geared out to gear 10 and was using him because of the previous meta with the arrows, and he still worked perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I
he's one of those
just got him
characters.
to legendary 1, and I got to start using him as legendary and see how much better he is.
Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't need it to be great, but he's obviously every legendary point he has is strong. So the higher you can take him, the better, of course. But some other characters don't have the legendary upgrades that are as good as he does. His are just so great. Next up is Red Hood. Put him on this list as a must-have because he shuts down Deathstroke meta, and he's also very good against non-Deathstroke teams. You'll see a lot of videos where I'm using him against teams that do not have Deathstroke, and all you have to do is get one kill. And I know that sometimes isn't always the easiest thing in the world to do, but once you get one kill, that turn meter manipulation is so strong. And then if you pair him with other bleeders such as Siren, he does extremely well. The heal immunity helps you even with the bugs and everything that exist with Baby Lobo. He's still a character that you want to have in your team. I think he's one of the better characters in this game. Next up, we have Steppenwolf. I really didn't buy into this guy at all at the beginning. It was funny. I kind of talked him down, thought Terra and them were, but I was so wrong on this character. Now he's one of those characters that I don't see a reason not to include him against the team. I don't care if I'm fighting against MJ or not. I mean, he's obviously that's what he's designed to counter, but the crit ups, enabling Cyborg to be dangerous. So many of your other characters, if you run them with Cheetah, and then you do the crit up, you do the Cheetah's strength up, you can just wipe out teams. I mean, he's such a good character. And then he also pairs well with any other characters that benefit from crit. So he's great with Aquamoa. He's great with Harley Quinn, quite vexing. Just such a good character. And moving up to our getting to the upper echelon now. This is a character I think everybody should have, everybody should gear, whether you're new, whether you're a veteran, is Hal Jordan Green Lantern. He's one of the best leaders in the game. He's always been a good character. He's always worked well in every single meta that's come out, and I think he'll probably always be towards the top of the meta. I know, Slow, you obviously are high on Green Lantern.
Yeah, I use Hal Jordan all the time. I'm I would actually make the argument that I think he's probably the top number one character that you need to gear out. You can get his shards easily. He's just this is going to be my first character to take to gear 11. I'm going to work on him first because he does as a leader. You just can't beat him as leader and all the benefits you get. He's tough. He gives a lot of help to the rest of the team. I use him all the time.
Yeah, and if you can take him high enough legendary, getting the enrage immunity saves you against Harley Quinn.
Yep.
I mean, great character. This list isn't designed to be if you're, who you should necessarily if you don't have the shards, but if you're a new player, he should probably be your first character to take to gear 11. If you're going to gear 11, or even just gearing out, period. If you have a relatively new roster and you don't have very many characters that you've geared, Hal Jordan Green Lantern should be one of them.
Yeah.
Next up is one of the next best characters in the game. She's probably the best mystic of them all, is Wonder Woman Defender of Justice. She's been dethroned as the second best tank, though, I mean, depending on who you're facing energy comps, obviously she still is the best. There's very few teams you don't want her on. Great character, can remove buffs, can remove evasion, can stun, taunts, gains shields, shares buffs. I mean, she just does it all. And she has awesome animations too. So fun character to watch.
Yeah, I use her quite a bit as well, as lead or even just throwing her on their team just for her. Like you said, she's pretty tough and she's got the taunt and she hits pretty hard. So yeah, I use her. I use her all the time.
Next up, and of course we had to put him near the top of the list because he still is the king of the game for the most part, is Deathstroke. Still a one-man army. Unless you're facing Red Hood, there's really very few teams you can't beat with a Deathstroke team. Red Hood's the only exception to that. So still super strong, can carry you through teams. Um, just a great character all the way around. I mean, there's no reason not to have him geared and leveled up.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, before this current meta, he's one of the characters that I geared out and upgraded just because I am a Deathstroke fan. And he sucked before this meta, so I wasted all those resources on him, and it actually paid off because when I came back, I already had him geared out, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, just we're not gonna spend much time on him because everybody knows
Yeah.
everybody's talked about Deathstroke at nauseum. And then, of course, the number one character in the game, in my opinion, one, if you have her, you need to have her Legendary 2 or Legendary 3 to get the most out of her, but is Harley Quinn Mad Jester. She took the crown from Wonder Woman as the best taunter. I would place her as probably the most important character to have. Even with the anti-invasion characters that are out, she makes virtually every comp better and is the cornerstone of most great teams. So just having that protection from her, even if you're facing against Steppenwolf, which makes it a little more challenging, he still has to waste turns getting rid of her, and that gives your other characters time to build up and kill the other team.
Yeah, I've been since you've been talking her up, I've been gearing her out and using her more and more on my comps that I've been putting together for PvP, and I've noticed that she's a lot better than I expected. Even at a lower gear level, I almost have her to gear 10. I got a couple of pieces I need to finish upgrading, but yeah, she definitely is effective, and I need to get her to Legendary 3 so I can get that start with a taunt. Unfortunately,
Oh,
I still have to do the taunt on my own, but
yeah, that's kind of the must-have. Once you have the taunt, that's what makes her.
yeah,
The double shot's nice, but the having the taunt is what makes her character just ridiculous.
yeah. Even without it, she still is effective for me. Other than whenever she gets blasted right out of the gate by a strong green, but yeah, definitely I've been using her a lot more. I can see why she's so effective and really helps your team. Takes the pressure off your team so you can build some of those slower characters.
And that is our entire list. I will post this entire thing to Reddit. I'm not sure if I'm gonna bring my laptop with me, but I'm not sure if I'll do that while I'm on vacation. But it'll be before the end of the month. And hopefully you all enjoyed hearing our tiers on this. Hopefully we didn't forget a character. I don't think we did, but there's a lot of characters. And then
I think we got all of them, and I think like I completely agree with your top 12. I agree with you pretty much your entire list. I mean, there's a few characters that I like better and personally would have had higher, but for the most part, it's hard to argue with. These are the characters that are the most effective, so it makes sense to upgrade them in that order for PvP.
and we also want to thank our patrons, Richard, JP, Joe, and TJ. Thank you for your support. Do you like the show? Consider becoming a patron and get a special show each month, our special Q&A episode. It's only $1 to have access to this. Check it out at patreon.com. We are our legends.
Thanks for listening. You're not going to say anything?
Are legends.